Jacob Zuma's legal team believe they have a good shot at getting the corruption charges against him dropped. The former president's case has been postponed until November. The Hawks nab one of the most wanted suspects in the country. Authorities believe they've netted a cash-in-transit kingpin. And in your sports, Ajax Cape Town have accepted defeat in the Tendai saga and will ply their trade in the NFD in the upcoming season. This is eNews at 8 p.m. live from Johannesburg. I'm Tony Ndoro. Very good evening. Now, former President Jacob Zuma's new legal team will try and get the charges against him dropped permanently. Zuma appeared in court in Pietermaritzburg today on charges of fraud, corruption and money laundering. He told hundreds of supporters outside court that justice delayed is justice denied. Sipamandla Goge was there and filed this report.
With a new legal team defending him, former President Jacob Zuma came out guns blazing, and his team soon dropped a bombshell.
We as a team have looked at that question of review and decided that it is not a good option, not a viable option, and not one that Mr. Zuma chooses. So your Lordship makes an extremely valid point. Progress has been made, because otherwise there might have been a review and thereafter a permanent stay application. We're over that hill. We have abandoned any thought of a review, and we are firmly fixed now on the permanent stay application. So there is greater clarity from the last occasion.
Helens told the court that Zuma's application for a permanent stay of prosecution would be based on 4 grounds. These include the long delay in charging him and going to trial.
But there are 2 far more ominous aspects to the permanent stay application. And the one is significant pre-trial irregularities in the conduct of the investigating authorities, the DSO as it was then called, and the NPA. And I mention only two aspects, very serious constitutional implications. The Browse Mole report, where the DSO, with no lawful authority, were eavesdropping, telephone tapping and spying on Mr. Zuma, and compiled a report as if this was some Cold War operation of the 1950s or 60s. The spy tapes, and it's not a rehash of that which served before the Supreme Court of Appeal, but it is the significance in terms of pre-trial irregularity and the undermining of the constitutional principles of privacy and regular conduct vis-a-vis any suspect that the spy tapes will come into being. And then more ominously, and it's sad for this country, executive interference, executive at the highest level interference with prosecutorial independence.
Helens told the court funding for legal costs will not delay the trial. Prosecutor Billy Downer told the court the state is ready to proceed. He requested that Zuma's legal team be given 4 weeks to present their arguments for a permanent stay. But the judge said 4 weeks would not be enough.
I come to the conclusion that a 4 weeks period would not be sufficient for the defense to prepare and to gather the necessary information for the contemplated application for stay of the proceedings.
Outside court, Zuma repeated his previous claims that the case against him is politically motivated and that the delays amount to injustice.
Justice delayed is justice denied. Ushukuthi uma ungalisheshisa icala umuntu ulithethwe ulibazise ufana nokuthi awulithethanga lelo cala ngokomthetho.
The case has been adjourned to the 30th of November. Sipamandla Goge, Pietermaritzburg.
The judicial inquiry into alleged state capture hasn't even begun and it's been hamstrung by delays. The inquiry is set to kick off on the 20th of August, but security clearance challenges and the quality of submissions are frustrating the work of the Commission. Chairperson Justice Raymond Zondo wants the President to intervene now. Leranzo Themba has the full story.
It will all play out in this room. For about 3 to 6 weeks, allegations of how the country lost over 100 billion rand and who is to blame for it is expected to become clearer.
Implicated person, that person will have 14 days within which to respond to the allegations against them. And it's not going to be enough for that person to simply say, I deny this or I dispute this. We want to know what they have to say about the whole story.
But even before the Commission can take off, it's being frustrated by delays.
Where there are delays, we are not saying that it's because there are people who are sabotaging the work of the Commission. It might be inefficiencies, it might be incompetence.
Zondo says transparency is of utmost importance. Witnesses will be allowed to be cross-examined, but who these witnesses are remains a closely guarded secret. A further frustration is the quality of submissions.
Those that have come before us have not quite applied their minds to the terms of reference of the Commission, and have not also organized their submissions to make sure that they respond to the terms of reference instead of bringing to the Commission their own issues of misgiving, which may not necessarily be related to the work of the Commission.
Zondo wants the President to step in.
I will be communicating with the President to say the delays that we have experienced in regard to the security clearances have reached a level where we must ask for your intervention.
The Commission was expected to complete its work within 180 days, but the North Gauteng High Court granted the judge's request to extend the deadline for a further 24 months. Interested parties have until the 2nd of August to challenge the extension. Leranzo Themba, Johannesburg.
The Hawks have made a major arrest after the recent spate of cash-in-transit robberies. Suspected heist kingpin Wellington Bibi Cenenda was apprehended in Bloemfontein last night. The 39-year-old and his alleged gangs are said to be linked to over 20 heists across Gauteng, Limpopo, Northwest and Mpumalanga. Cenenda will be back in court on the 20th of August alongside other accomplices. Now, Hawks spokesperson Brigadier Hangwani Mlaudzi believes that officials could be making a breakthrough.
Well, it was a collaborative effort by the law enforcement agencies. Of course, the South African Police Service. We found the suspect in Bloemfontein last night. Crime intelligence-led operation led us to his capture. And then he was then transported to Pretoria. Immediately, we then dispatched him to Mpumalanga, where he had a warrant of arrest for a 2016 case where he and other members of his syndicate were involved in a shooting with police. 3 of his accomplices were shot and killed during that time. Unfortunately, we lost 1 member in an accident. So we are of the view that we are breaking the backbone of this CIT syndicate, more especially those most wanted suspects within the country.
Now, residents of the Northern Cape's Sol Plaatje municipality are threatening to start protesting again if Mayor Mangaliso Matika does not step down. ANC councillors in the municipality who voted to remove the party's mayor say they'll accept whatever action the ANC decides to take against them. The ANC is accusing them of colluding with opposition parties to have Mangaliso Matika removed. But the councillors are adamant that they are merely doing what the voters want. Zikona Chona is in Kimberley.
The offices of Solplaatje municipality are heavily guarded amid threats by the community to return to the streets if Mayor Mangaliso Matika does not step down. They accuse him of being arrogant and not listening to people. But Matika says if people want him out, they should approach the ANC. Meanwhile, on Wednesday, councillors sat in a meeting and voted Matika out in a vote of no confidence. But the municipality has come out to say that that meeting was unlawful and it will approach the court to deem it null and void. But the man appointed in the meeting as a mayor says Matika must listen to the people.
No, I would say, comrade, can we do what we've been asked to do by the community? You are here because you have to serve the community. I'm here to serve the community, period.
In your view, has he failed as mayor of this municipality?
The community say that.
The ANC has said that it will take action against councillors who sided with opposition parties against Matika. Zikhona Chona in Kimberley.
Now, coming up, many Zimbabwean nationals living in South Africa are hopeful ahead of Monday's historic election. We speak to some of them after the break. Stay with us. So wage negotiations between Eskom and labour unions remain deadlocked. The parties embarked on another round of discussions today. The issue of bonuses remains a major sticking point. The power utility says it simply cannot afford to pay the bonuses. Wage talks have dragged for over a month now as the power utility refuses to budge on workers' requests for bonuses. They are instead offering a 3-year agreement at 7% with a housing allowance, or 7.5% for 2018 and 7% for the 2 years after without a housing allowance. Now, as Zimbabwe prepares to hold general elections on Monday, many Zimbabweans are making their way home from South Africa to vote. The election will be the first after former President Robert Mugabe's resignation last year. As Lindokuhle reports, many Zimbabweans have renewed hope that this is the first step to rebuilding their country's economy.
Takeshaw Taengwa is one of many Zimbabweans who left their families behind to come to South Africa in search of economic opportunities. But Taengwa is headed home this week to take part in Monday's historic elections, the first after 37 years of rule by former President Robert Mugabe.
Yes, I'm going back to Harare. We are going to vote. And what we are looking at is to change what is the situation in Zimbabwe right now.
Taengwa says he's been living in South Africa for over 3 years. He says he was forced to live away from his family due to a lack of opportunities in Zimbabwe.
There is no cash, there are no jobs. The industries are closed, nothing is taking place. People have got no ways of making their life.
Like many analysts and critics, Taengwa believes the country's economic decline began when white farmers were forced off much of the country's farmlands. He believes the first step to solving Zimbabwe's problems is for the country to hold peaceful, free and fair elections.
International relationship, global relationship, that is where our problem is. Now if we have got elections, if these elections goes well, things will change because we'll be having those friends who have left us for long coming back to us again.
While some Zimbabweans express confidence in current President Emmerson Mnangagwa, others want young leaders to take over.
It's surprising that people at this time, they want to employ someone who's 76 years old. This is time for someone to retire. This is time for someone to go home and raise his children. Yeah. So we need a change. We definitely need young people to come into power. Whatever it is. No, don't force me, man.
Lindokuhle, Johannesburg.
Right, here's a recap of your main stories. Jacob Zuma's legal team believe they have a good shot at getting the corruption charges against him dropped. The former president's case has been postponed until November. The Hawks nab one of the most wanted suspects in the country. Authorities believe they've netted a cash-in-transit kingpin. That's all the sport we have for you for tonight. But coming up, there's a lunar eclipse looming. And it might have black and white stripes, but it's not exactly a zebra. More on this bizarre story from Egypt after the break.
Good evening and welcome to the Weather Centre. The total lunar eclipse is about to begin. That means the moon is about to move into the Earth's shadow and remain there for 103 minutes, making this the longest lunar eclipse of the century. Now let's take a closer look at viewing conditions across South Africa tonight. The eclipse starts early and then we're still expecting quite a bit of cloud cover in the Western and Eastern Cape, but fair viewing conditions near Cape Town as a result of passing cloud that will still give Cape Townians the opportunity to watch the eclipse. Totality is reached at 21 minutes past 10 and thereafter conditions deteriorate in the southwestern Cape as more low cloud moves in. Now back to tomorrow's forecast. We're expecting rain-free conditions over much of South Africa and a drier day over the western parts. Temperatures remain low over the high ground of the Northern Cape, but it will be warm in the vicinity of Upington with a high of 26. Cold overnight in the Western Cape with single-digit morning temperatures, 17 degrees in Beaufort West with a high of 20, and in Mossel Bay we're expecting maximums to reach the upper teens. In the Eastern Cape it will be cool overnight and we're expecting lows down to 0 degrees in Aliwal North, but it will be sunny there during the afternoon with mostly cloudy conditions for the coastline. KZN received some rain during the course of the day for the coastal areas, 23 degrees in Richards Bay and Durban, but mostly sunny conditions over the northern interior. Heading to the sunnier part of South Africa, it will be fine and dry in Mpumalanga and quite warm in the Lowveld before fresh southeasterly winds push in low cloud during the course of the afternoon and evening. It remains warm in the Limpopo province with highs reaching the upper 20s in the Lowveld, 27 degrees in Thohoyandou, Lephalale with a maximum of 28. Sunny and dry weather in northwest where it will be cold at first. Temperatures drop close to 0 degrees in Potchefstroom, Vryburg down to 2. In the Free State, we're expecting sub-zero minimums in the eastern parts, -2 in Bethlehem, Zastron down to -1 with a maximum of 18 degrees, but sunny and mild weather in Gauteng with a low of 4 in Soweto and an afternoon temperature of 22 degrees. Now the weekend's forecast remains quite dry across South Africa. In fact, we're expecting on Sunday a bit of light rain along the southwest coast and the adjacent interior, but that rain spreads to the north coast of KZN only on Monday. That's all from the Weather Centre. Enjoy the lunar eclipse tonight.
And finally, we've all heard of a wolf in sheep's clothing, but have you heard of a donkey in zebra's clothing? Well, a zoo in Egypt is being accused of fooling visitors by painting a donkey and passing it off as a zebra. Student Mahmoud Sahan exposed the zoo by posting pictures on Facebook. Experts are weighing in on the matter, pointing out the animal's small size and pointy ears. There also appear to be black smudges on its face. Here's a recap of your main stories this evening. Jacob Zuma's legal team believe that they have a good shot at getting the corruption charges against him dropped. The former president's case has been postponed until November. The Hawks nab one of the most wanted suspects in the country. Authorities believe they've netted a cash-in-transit kingpin. Well, that's it for your news at 8 p.m. Until next time, have a fantastic evening.